Hypnosis works, transforming the mind.
Hi there, I'm Hendrik, a practicing non-medical hypnotherapist currently based in Pretoria, South Africa. I'm always curious to learn more about hypnosis, and so I thought, what better way to learn than to chat with other hypnotherapists to gain some insights into what they do and how they work. So join me as we explore the fascinating world of the mind and of hypnosis. My guest today is stage hypnotist and hypnotherapist Max Kaan. Do not adjust your set because it was a rainy day here in Pretoria, so the shushing sound you might hear throughout parts of this podcast is just the rain pouring down in Pretoria. Enjoy the interview. The very first of the Hypnosis Works interviews with working hypnotherapists.
I'm so pleased to be here. So pleased to be the first.
Yes, the first always the most challenging and the most exciting.
Well, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is certainly exciting. I'm very pleased to be here.
How long have you been working as a hypnotherapist?
Oh, for the last 25, 30 years, easily.
But you're also known as a stage hypnotist, are you not?
I am, yeah, until COVID came along.
But COVID has changed quite a bit, not only for stage shows, but also for hypnotherapists, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
How has that influenced your practice?
Well, from the entertainment side of things, that's almost collapsed. I don't think there's any corporate company out there, because I largely did corporate gigs. I liked the corporate gig. In and out in an hour, you were well paid. I refer to it often as a smash and grab. But there's no corporate company nowadays going to allow a hypnotist to come in, select 10 of their personnel, have them closely grouped together, which I require to be done. It just, violates the social distancing and everything else. And then, of course, as you know, from a hypnosis show perspective, it can get a little bit unruly and boisterous, and they tend to hang over each other. And again, that's not good social distance and practice, and so it's not going to happen, I don't think, for this year. Which is sad, because we need more laughter, a lot more laughter in this world, and laughter will cure COVID. Oops. Don't quote me on that. Yeah.
So, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, is a lot of the misconceptions people have about hypnosis, people usually say it comes from the stage hypnotist and from Hollywood. Do you agree with that?
No, I disagree. The misconceptions come from the individual themselves because of lack of information, perhaps ignorance of the subject matter. You must also remember that if we're talking about a client, or if we're talking about a fellow hypnotherapist, a client, hypnotherapy itself is very, very intangible. Nothing seems to happen. For the most part, you sit down, someone talks to you, wakes you up or tells you open your eyes, and you go away and you wonder what happened there. And this is why oftentimes hypnotherapists will give their clientele something, like a CD or a booklet, whatever, something that is tangible, to try and counteract this. So that's where a lot of misconceptions come from the public's point of view. From a hypnotherapist's point of view, the misconceptions come because typically they don't really like what a stage hypnotist does. And yet, it's the marvel of what happens in a stage hypnosis show that causes many members of the public to get in contact with a hypnotherapist in the first place, because they witnessed something last night or last week, and they witnessed something happening from someone they know, or someone they thought they knew. And this person was doing things out of the ordinary, and that made that individual think, my goodness me, if this stage hypnotist can get so-and-so to behave like that, can he get me to stop smoking? can he help me to lose some weight? And of course the answer is yes, we can. That's where I think the misconceptions come. But the real problem is the insecure hypnotherapist. A hypnotherapist who is very comfortable one-on-one, and that's about it. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I do a lot of one-on-one work, and the client pays me for that. But these people would never, ever be able to stand on a stage and summon 10, 15 people up, hypnotize them rapidly, get them into a state of hypnosis where they can actually respond and become funny and make the audience laugh. That particular individual would never be able to do that. And that's where I think the dislike comes from.
It's a kind of jealousy, that's what you say.
I wouldn't say it's jealousy. It's a realization that they don't have those particular tools or skill set. They're never likely to have them. They're not even going to try to adopt them or learn them. So they shun this side of the industry. And it's terribly sad because, number one, I would never say anything bad about hypnotherapy because I'm a hypnotherapist myself. I would never say anything bad about the industry at large because I'm in that industry. I'd be shooting myself in the foot. It's like saying to people, don't go to movies because there's different types of movies. There's family movies, there's action movies, and of course there's violent, terrible movies. So don't go to the movies because of these violent, terrible movies. It would be a terrible way to advise people to live. It'd be so short-sighted, and I just won't do that. And I have been in the company of these hypnotherapists themselves, and within 5-10 minutes, they begin to see the error of their ways. Now, there are stage hypnotists who perhaps operate, let's say, below the belt. We are quite right to perhaps not align ourselves with those kind of shows, but they are few and far between. Most of the stage hypnotists, especially the ones working in South Africa, I would say 90% of the show, you could take your 4-year-old daughter and you could take your 85-year-old granny there, and both would laugh and enjoy themselves.
Very few people actually working on stage with hypnosis shows in this country, at least.
You know what? It's like an undertaker job. It's a dying trade. You're absolutely right. There is few, and the reason being because the psychology behind it is against you. It's a daunting prospect to stand up on stage all alone with 10 empty chairs behind you, and you've got to talk into this audience and convince. The hypnotist begins right there. The hypnosis starts right there. You've got to convince this audience to come up and volunteer to do funny things that their colleagues are going to laugh at. That's why there's very few. If you look at the number of stage hypnotists throughout the world and the number of magicians, it's about 1,000 to 1 easily, because a magician is armed to the teeth, from toe to teeth. He is armed with things that he can produce and gimmicks and all that, and that makes a magician feel safe. But a stage hypnotist goes out there almost naked. I mean, it's like a singer. Can you imagine a singer, and well, it happens in karaoke, but can you imagine a singer building his reputation on walking out on stage and saying, "You, ma'am, come up and sing a song," and the lady comes up, sings a song, the audience love it, and then they attribute their love to the singer, not the lady singer, but the compere singer, him. It's ludicrous, it's madness.
Yeah.
But that's what a stage hypnotist is doing. And I can promise every hypnotherapist listening today that if they will just embrace the totality of hypnosis and not condemn anything, their particular practice will flourish, and their particular set of skills will also advance, because they're opening up the door. And this is what it is. It's a door, it's a portal, it's a way into the mind. They're opening up completely to it rather than shutting some of it off, which is silly.
But that's true. I mean, when I was learning hypnotherapy and hypnosis, we did briefly touch on things like instant inductions, which we don't really use in the practice, which is something obviously on stage it's a great skill to have and to get people into hypnosis very quickly, isn't it?
I don't like instant inductions myself because they tend to look false. there's enough of what's happening in a stage show, for example, that you think to yourself, this can't be. This is unbelievable. So when it comes to the induction or instant induction, my induction is typically 3 to 5 minutes, which is deemed long. It's deemed a long induction, but I don't subscribe to the instant induction, sleep, and that. I don't like that. It tends to look a little bit cheap, it looks diluted, and it also comes across false. So I steer away from that myself. I pride myself in the induction, or that part of the show, where I take seemingly fully conscious people and I transform them. So I don't really like or subscribe to the so-called instant induction.
So, but that's what you do in a hypnotherapy practice as well, is to transform people, and through suggestion and through all those techniques we use to change bad habits, to solve long-standing issues. Talk to me about your practice. You say you've been in practice for a long time. What is the biggest thing that you see, the most often problem that people come to present with?
Well, pre-COVID, it was definitely smoking cigarettes, and I'm sure every hypnotherapist listening will agree with me and echo those sentiments. Smoking was the number one traffic, followed closely by overweight people, and then the depressed, suicidal people, that sort of thing. But after COVID, post-COVID, it has changed dramatically. The depression is number one traffic right now at the moment.
I saw some research recently about COVID, depression and anxiety and all those problems that we're starting to see now. And hypnosis obviously works very well for that.
Absolutely. You know what, if you've got anxiety, if you have a problem, that problem can be reduced, I believe. The problem can be solved. And there's always a recipe, there's always a strategy for undoing the problem. But if you're going to add depression to that, if you're going to add anxiety and worry to that, then we've got 2-3 problems. So we've got the original catalyst that caused the problem, or is the problem, and now we've got all these extra things on board which we have to deal with. And I'm a big fan of the mind, Hendrik. I really believe that our problems are largely brought on by our mind, brought on by our thinking. So if that is true, and if I can convince the individual that this is the case, then it's very, very easy for me to help them using the same mind. Using the same mind that caused the problem, the same mind is now going to address, fix, help, alleviate the problem.
So talk to me about the process you use when a client comes to see you. What usually happens in a session?
You know, I'm a big fan of mind thought transference. And I can tell you, as soon as someone drives into my yard as they're parking their car, sometimes I can really just say to these individuals, you know what, close your door, reverse back out, you're fixed. And sometimes, obviously, I can clearly see, oops, I'm going to have to roll my sleeves up here and get the boxing gloves on. But typically, I listen a lot. I listen intently, and I use a lot of observation. And, you know, someone will come and say to me they want to stop smoking. Well, you know, for most people, that's enough information. The person wants to stop smoking, so they will typically launch into their ritual, and it is a ritual, and I do it myself, so I'm not complaining about it, I'm not criticizing it. But it's very, very important to listen to, what do we call these people? Our clients or customers?
Yeah.
Not patients. We don't want to upset the doctors.
No, of course not.
But it's very, very important to listen to the person and to look at the person as you are listening to them. In other words, observe their body language, observe how they're speaking, the way they're speaking, everything. And then typically I will ask some questions and then give, I'm going to say, advice as to how this particular problem can be circumvented. And then I will typically go into the hypnosis part of the session. So there's chiefly 3 parts. I listen, what's the problem? I ask questions about it. Are you absolutely sure this is the problem? Is it really bothering you that much? Why do you want to do this? And I try and establish a motive from them. And then I talk about it, and if I don't have any expertise on the particular problem, I will make that very, very clear. So when I do speak, I'm speaking from, I believe, a level of experience, and I'm speaking about things that actually do work. And then the last part is the actual hypnosis part, where I will put them into a light trance. And it is a light trance. I'm not preoccupied by the depth of trance. A lot of hypnotherapists feel they must get their subjects into the deepest possible trance. No. If you're listening today, take my word, it's not necessary. A light trance suffices. A light trance is great, even for stage work. There's a misconception there too, that the hypnotist must get the stage hypnotist must get the volunteers into the deepest possible trance. Oh, it doesn't work. It slows your show down. The people don't respond quickly, and you want them to respond on the typical click of the fingers. And I've carried that into my hypnotherapy practice, where I put them into a light trance, and that's maybe 10, 15 minutes, followed by another 10 minutes of direct suggestion, indirect suggestions, a lot of visualization, a little bit of aversion therapy, and that's married into another 10, 15 minutes, and then I gently wake them up, and they feel great, they feel fantastic. So they've had like almost a triple dose, if you want to call it that.
Do you believe in a one-session cure-all, or does it take more than one session for certain things?
You know what, Hendrik? Okay, that's a personal thing, and it's an individual thing. It's a hypnotherapy thing. It really, really depends on the individual. It depends on what their concern or problem is, and it also depends on how the hypnotherapist feels himself. Now, sometimes the individual theirself cannot believe this can be fixed in one session. So you should align yourself with that. Or you can say to them, no, don't worry, we can do this in one session. Typically something like stop smoking should be one session. However, you do get difficult customers or clients. So they might need to come for 2 or 3 or 4 sessions. We as hypnotherapists must avoid the typical psychological route where we create this kind of dependency and this idea that you now must come to me every week for the rest of your life. I don't like that. Don't like it at all. I like the individual to know, and I impress upon the individual, it was you who started smoking for whatever reason. It is you who will stop this smoking for whatever reason. Let's find a common way, a pleasing way, and let's get on with it. So yeah, I'm not against multiple sessions, but no more than 4, because if you're not helping someone by the 4th session, when is the help going to actually germinate? When is the help actually going to come through? I like to see results. I'm results driven, and I like to see results. But I do understand that some things can be tricky. Psychological aspects, psychiatric aspects, I don't touch for that very reason. You ordinarily can't really help these people in one session. You need multiple sessions. And I don't really like that. But I will see an overweight person for 3 or 4 times because, as you know, it's the eating, number one. It's the emotions. It's the relationships that all come into why they're overeating. And you don't really want to do all those 3 things in one session. You would like to sort of break them up so that you can focus on each aspect completely and help them in that area so they can move on to the next area and sort that one out too.
For me, the weight is usually the more tricky one, because the smoker smokes today, stops smoking tomorrow, there you've got your result. For somebody with weight, it takes a while for the weight to go off. And as you say, there might be different aspects to it, that underlying aspects that would create that barrier, that they've created through the weight. So yeah, I quite agree with you there that it's, and as you say, with results driven, your result is the weight is going off, and that's going to take at least 2 kilos a week. How much weight do you want to drop? It's going to take a few months, surely.
Yeah, it absolutely depends on the individual. If they've got 10 Ks to shift, you know, I always err on the low side of figures to avoid disappointment. Now, I typically spout 1 to 4, which is quite a broad band, 1 to 4 kilograms per calendar month. I like to, and people look at me and say, what? I'll get rid of 5, 6, 7. Good, wonderful, fantastic, I say. I encourage them. But when I am uttering it, I say, listen, you can comfortably get rid of 1 to 4 kilograms per calendar month. Now, when I say get rid of, I'm talking about you get rid of this. It's not this yo-yo weight that comes back, and, you know, or it's not just water retention that you've, you know, got rid of for a day or two. This is genuine weight reduction. This is genuine, sustained, long-term weight management, because that's what weight management is all about. This is why, again, I'm anti-diets. I can eat like a pig, and I pick it up. And then when I moderate my diet, again, it falls off. It's not rocket science. It's decisions. But the biggest problem, and hypnotherapists, please listen to this, the biggest problem with your clients today is their memory. Even our own memories. What's your name, sir? What's my name? People are forgetting why they want to do things. People are forgetting why they're actually doing things. And it's this forgetting that causes confusion. And this confusion in the brain hates. So you wake up in the morning and you think to yourself, I'm going to have this or have that. And you think, but I shouldn't have this or that because it's against the rules and I won't lose weight or whatever. But you forget. You forget why you originally went to see Hendrik or went to see Max to get rid of the weight. You forget that. And when your brain forgets why you're doing or not doing something, it will take you back to your old behavior, which is your habits, and you will have 10 slices of toast instead of 1 or 2. And this is the problem, forgetfulness. It's rife, it's rampant everywhere. And we should be doing more memory courses, I promise you. And we should be reminding people, this is what you said you want. Not this is what I told you. There's too much of that in hypnotherapy. We need to put everything back to the client. This is what you told me you wanted. This is what you said you were going to do. You haven't been doing that because we see it in the results. Results don't lie. Results don't hide. They're there. They're evidently clear. And you just have to look. You just have to listen. And you will see and hear why your client is not getting their result. So we mustn't, I'm not a big fan of being prescriptive. I like to, and this comes from the coaching model where you get the client to work out their own solution to the problem. Although, yes, as a hypnotist, I do make strong suggestions because time is limited. And we have to sometimes accelerate. And of course, Hendrik, you must know yourself, a lot of the clients, with all due respect, don't really know what they want.
Yeah.
And this can pose a problem too. So we got to help them. And if we help them live a good, happy, fun-filled, balanced life, I think we've done a marvelous job. We'll never create a perfect life for them or ourselves. So if we just get close to fairly balanced life, I think we've done a great job.
What is the most difficult thing that you've found people come to you with that's the most difficult for you to work with?
You know what? I'm going to say drugs, and I know smoking is a drug, the nicotine in the cigarette smoke, but my least success, and it's a little bit, you know, upsetting for me, because I pride myself on being a very good, effective hypnotherapist. But the youngsters, and I say youngsters, I'm talking about 18 to 30, who are on hardcore drugs, I've not enjoyed what I would say great success. Now, this is largely because it's difficult to get these youngsters to return a second and third time. And we were talking earlier about a single session against multiple sessions. I personally think when it comes to youngsters on narcotics, they need 3, 4, 5, 6 sessions before we see our foundation even setting that we can build to get them off these drugs permanently. So I would consider that not the hardest, but let's say the least satisfying, if I can use that word.
Do you find parents going, my son is a drug addict and I want you to fix him for me?
Well, normally the first session I will ask the parents to come along. And sometimes I feel that the parents should actually be having the session and not the son or the daughter. You're nodding your head. You found it exactly the same thing. If you phone
me, then you're the one with the problem. I mean, that needs help.
But I like the parents to be there for the first session, and then the second and subsequent sessions, the individual himself or herself will do.
I've also found that if they take the drugs on a Sunday and they come to you on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, they just pass out, and you actually have to just leave them to sleep for a while because it's the drugs that have.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's why at source, when I'm making the appointment, I stress to them, now please, if it's alcohol or if it's cat or if it's cocaine, don't indulge in any of these substances. You're coming to see me on Thursday, please don't indulge in any of these substances on the Wednesday. Come to me with a clear head, because I'm going to be talking to you, and you're going to have to listen to me. And you're going to have to think critically about what I'm saying to you. And you're going to have to think of a way that you can apply that. And I'm going to help you by showing you ways that you can apply that. But you and I are going to have to work together. And if you come high as a kite, well, it's going to fly over your head like where the kite is. So, yeah, absolutely, Hendrik. I couldn't agree more with you.
Do you do things like regression therapy?
Yes. You know what? I'm in this for the money as well. I've got things to buy. I've got a long list of things I still want to buy, and I've got bills to pay. And regression therapy from time to time becomes very popular. And when it does, I'm there. Ordinarily, I don't really feel we need to use regression therapy. Past life regression, age life regression. I don't think we need to use it. It is very helpful. It is time consuming. It sometimes drags things out. But if a client asks for it, then yes, I give it to them. And most clients that come to me for past life regression want to know just that. Have they lived before? And I will regress them, and as soon as I feel that we've established enough information that indicates, it doesn't prove they've lived before, it may just indicate they've lived before, then I end the session. And of course I record all the sessions, video with a video camera. As you know, you've got to do that because a lot of things can go wrong in a regression session, and we don't want any fingers pointing at us.
What sort of things can go wrong?
Well, you know what, a person can have an overreaction. I've had people waking up, they've been crying all the way through. Now they wake up, their eyes are like 3 times the size. Their tops or blouses, and I'm referring to a lady now, is soaking wet. And the first thing they do is they look at you like, now, what happened? So you can sit there all day long and tell them what happened, and they'll either believe that or not, or you can show it to them. And a video doesn't lie. A video doesn't lie. When you see yourself sitting there smiling 1 minute and then burst out crying the next, you know you came to something in that session that perhaps was uncomfortable, that perhaps was traumatic, that perhaps was upsetting, but the hypnotist was nowhere near you. So it just covers, you ought not to do a regression therapy unless you are recording the entire session. And in the old days, if any of you can remember the VHS cassettes, I used to have a stock of them, hundreds of them, 3 hours. I used to put into the video, have the camera trained on the person, I would start the session, I would make notes, I would highlight notes that at 1 hour, 5 minutes, you mentioned this, you referred to a name, your voice changed, your mannerisms changed, things like that. I would do all that, and at the end of the session I would take the video cassette out, just hand it to the client with my notes. Away they went, happy, But I would say to them, yes, you have lived before, and look at 1 hour, 17 minutes, and that's where you tell us that, and things like that. Yeah. It was good fun. I will just take a program like Carte Blanche to talk about regression, and we'll be in business for the next 6 months. We'll be oversubscribed. And then it fades off. And it's regression's nice, but it's not, I think age regression is very good. Would I take you back from your current age to 10, 15 years ago, where you believe a particular problem started? It's good for that. But past life regression, I sometimes feel, with all due respect now, and this is just my opinion, that's entertainment. Because at the end of the day, we cannot categorically prove, nor can we disprove, and I hear that argument too, and I agree with it, I subscribe to it, but we can't prove or disprove that someone did live or did not live. The main important thing is that your client leaves you feeling better than when he came in. Then you've done your job.
Yes.
Absolutely. So regression therapy, I don't discount it, I don't dismiss it, but it's not something I will push on a client.
Now, you've been in practice for many years. Tell me one or two of the most interesting things that have happened.
I used to have this particular set where I would pick one of my volunteers, usually a good-looking young lady, and I would tell her that when she wakes up she's going to find me irresistible. I would have her standing directly in my line of sight, and I would say to her, when I click my fingers, you'll open your eyes, you're going to look at the hypnotist or the person directly in front of you, and you're going to find him irresistible. You're going to rush over because you want to grab him, kiss him madly, and that sort of thing. Now, before you get upset and before you phone me to complain, my lovely hypnotherapists, I always stopped this, I aborted this as the lady just began to move to me. I didn't even wait till she was upon me. As soon as she got halfway, I would say, sleep, stop, or whatever. So don't complain. One night, it was in Gaborone in Botswana. Here comes the young lady. I gave her the instruction. I say, open your eyes. Here comes the young lady. I say, sleep. But the laughter is a complete ruckus. The laughter is like hysterical. And I'm thinking, well, it's not that funny. And I'm wondering why everybody's laughing and why everybody's screaming, really, literally screaming with laughter. It turns out another lady who was sitting in the front row got hypnotized at that moment in time, heard the instruction, opened her eyes and spotted a man across the room, and this was unknown to me, she raced across the room and launched herself on this man. And I had to run over to that side of the room and, of course, arrest that. I thought that was terribly funny.
Yeah. Well, the rain's coming down here.
Ordinarily, my hypnotherapy sessions are pretty much scripted and on cue. They start at A and they finish at Z, that sort of thing. But I find all of them very interesting. The fact that someone has come to me because they feel that I can help them charges me immensely. And I absorb all that energy and I give it back to them. I transmit it straight back. I find that enthralling from a hypnotherapy perspective.
Do you find people come to you as like a last resort? Like, I've tried everything else and you're the last thing if I'm going to try. If this doesn't work, I give up.
A lot of times, yeah. And isn't that sad?
I find that so exhilarating because that means that person is really ready to make those changes and will do everything possible to do it.
It is exhilarating, but I find it sad because why didn't they just do a little bit of schoolwork and learn 5-10 years ago that hypnotherapy was the avenue to go? Why did they waste time with this one and that one? And we don't need to mention names. Why did they waste years on medication? Why did they waste a lot of time, following, let's say, less than effective advice? Why didn't they come to Hendrik or Max straight away and fix themselves quickly? This is sometimes the problem with our hypnotherapy, is that it does just that. Helps people quickly. It's very efficient. And it's that quickness and the efficiency that causes the suspicion. And makes people think, no, it can't be that easy. And smokers will phone me. A smoker, for example, will phone me and say, listen, I'm in the pub, I'm drinking, my buddies are all blowing smoke in my face and it's not bothering me. It can't be like this. It shouldn't be like this. I should be annoyed. I should be irritable. I shouldn't even be here. And I tell those people, come back tomorrow morning. I'll add in irritability and upset and anger free of charge. Yeah, and they also laugh. No, I don't mean it like that. I say, well, that's what it sounds like. Yeah. That's what you're actually saying. And of course, we need to be careful what we say because it's our thoughts. And if we're uttering our thoughts, then we're giving them power. We're giving them, attention. And they may just rise to the occasion.
So, to end off, Max, why should somebody come...
To end off, we've just started.
Oh, well...
Gee, I'm here for the whole day. I'm here for the whole day.
Why should somebody go and see a hypnotherapist?
You know what? We've all got problems. And we all need help. And it's the smart person that, number one, identifies they need help, identifies they need a hypnotherapist or whatever, identifies that they've got a problem, and does something about it. And really, for most things that are ongoing or on the go at the moment, hypnotherapy is a very effective way of dealing with it. That's my belief. Of course, I would say that, wouldn't I? I'm a hypnotherapist, and if you're listening, I want you to come to me. I'd say that. But it's a fact. It is a fact. Because again, as I said earlier, we are using your mind, which is very powerful. We know that. We don't need to talk about that. That's a given. And it was your mind that is very powerful, which is also very, very destructive, that caused the problem, that gave birth to the problem, that has harbored the problem for the last 20 years, and it's the same mind that we're going to use to eradicate the problem. So that's why you should go to a hypnotherapist. On the whole, they're efficient, they're quick, they're very nice people, especially the ones that love the stage hypnotist. That's just a wee dig, by the way. I'm really a hell of a nice guy. If you will just take the time to meet me, you'll realize that.
And how do people get hold of you?
They can contact me, they can phone me directly on my cell phone number, which is 082 924 8693. Or they can catch me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, those social media platforms. On my website, maxkaan.com. That's MAXKAAN.com. And I'm around. And I'm going to be around for a long time. So do get in touch. And get in touch today. Not tomorrow. Because we don't have tomorrow. This was once tomorrow. This is tomorrow. Do it today. Phone me today. You'll love it. If you want to improve your hypnotherapy, call me. I'll show you how to be 10 times more effective. And, more importantly, I'll show you how to enjoy it.
Well, I found chatting to my hypnosis colleague very interesting and insightful, and I trust that you did too. Their contact details are in the podcast description, or you can get in touch with them through findahypnotist.co.za. If you want to find out more about me and what I do, please visit my website, hendrikbaird.com. Remember, I release new episodes every Thursday, so be sure to subscribe to my channel. Until we speak again, have a hypnotic day.
Hypnosis works, transforming the mind.